We labored over our decision to have or not to have our annual luncheon. But in the end, we felt it important to, with your help, continue our advocacy, education, and awareness efforts related to suicide and especially youth suicide. We have over 900 people registered for today's virtual event, an incredible turnout considering today's challenges. It often seems that we are inundated with nothing but news about problems our country faces, be it the virus, social unrest, or our divisive politics. I find myself often wondering if there isn't a news or a media business model that would focus more on the good things happening around us. The onslaught of this virus has certainly heightened our challenges in dealing with the overall mental well-being of adults and children globally. When you consider the environment in our schools, at home, and in the workplace, every age group and demographic has been pushed into some form of isolation. We are social animals. We need to be with other people. We need to collaborate in person with others at work. Our children need to learn social and interpersonal skills in our schools. We need to practice our faith with others. When these things are absent, it can easily result in stress, loneliness, and depression. But we're not here today to solve all of our nation's problems, but rather to bring the mental health conversation to light and eliminate any stigma related to our efforts to support the people most in need. You heard from Christina earlier about the work the foundation has been busy with, despite the barriers created by COVID-19. I'm incredibly proud of our staff, our board, and all those volunteers who support our efforts. And I want you to know that the foundation team is doing everything they can to mitigate the challenges we face today. Our family's path since we lost Jordan Elizabeth has not been an easy one. But over time, we have gathered strength from each other and from a very close group of friends. Ellen and I have always admired the way Jordan's brother and sister have rebounded from their loss, as both are now very independent, busy with their families and their careers, and active members of the Foundation's board. Their strength, courage, and resilience will carry them a long way as they continue their life's journey. Jordan and her little sister had a very special bond that most siblings would be envious of. I was always amazed at how close they were with each other. Seldom did I ever hear them argue. More often, I would find them giggling about some absurd story or thought they were sharing with each other. You all might remember the old Nike commercial, "Be like Mike," suggesting you could be a basketball player like Michael Jordan if you wore his shoes. In certain ways, Elisha wanted to be like Jordan. With that notion in mind, let me introduce Elisha Thornton Harris, who will give you her perspective on what it was like to lose her sister Jordan to suicide. Thank you. Elisha?
Thank you for that intro, Dad. As my dad mentioned, my name is Elisha Harris, and I am Jordan's younger sister. Our brother Matt gave a speech at last year's luncheon. He did such a fabulous job that I don't think I stopped hearing, "Wasn't Matt's speech incredible?" for at least 2 weeks after that. So I wanted to say thank you, Matt, for setting that incredibly high standard for me. This idea of standard setting does a pretty good job of summing up what it was like growing up as the youngest Harris sibling. It feels like I've spent my whole life living up to the standards set by my big brother and sister. Throughout grade school, I wasn't ever really called by my name, Elisha, but rather Jordan Harris's little sister, or, "Hey, you're related to Matt, right?" But in all seriousness, I could not have asked for better role models. Matt was the smart, talented captain of the football team, and Jordan, well, I wanted to be everything she was. Intelligent, funny, beautiful, successful, kind, popular, just to name a few. Jordan played basketball and volleyball in school, so I played basketball and volleyball. She was on the school spirit squad, and I was too. She got her nose pierced. I got my nose pierced. She wanted to travel the world, and I still do. Anywhere she was at a big family gathering, I would be right next to her, which I know she absolutely loved. She had this infectious lust for life and for people, and had a special way of making everyone she encountered feel like their best selves. Jordan had the brightest future ahead of her, and I knew, even at a young age, that she would go on to do amazing things in this world. One day shortly after Jordan returned to Ann Arbor for her final semester at the University of Michigan, my dad called me to tell me that she had been admitted to the hospital. She had been having these really dark thoughts, and her roommate, Stephanie, had convinced her to check herself in so she could get help. I was so confused, as I didn't have the slightest inkling that she was feeling sad or overwhelmed, much less depressed. The whole concept of being depressed was something that was so foreign to me at the time. There had been no warning signs. She did her absolute best at hiding these feelings from everyone. Only 2 months later, Jordan took her own life. She was 22 years old. I was 18. As long as I live, I will remember the day I found out Jordan died as if it was yesterday. I was in my second semester of my freshman year at UT Austin. After my morning classes, Matt, who was also at UT, came to my dorm to tell me what happened. I remember my dad's voice breaking over the phone as he attempted to calm me down. I remember the 45-minute flight from Austin to DFW feeling like 4 hours. I remember the house full of people that were there when I arrived home and the conversations with my loved ones, each of us trying to make sense of what had happened. My life has not been the same since. I lost my big sister, my best friend, and the most influential person in my life. I kept thinking, how could someone who was so full of life be so depressed that she truly believed the only solution was to end her own life? How did I not see how bad it was? If Jordan could succumb to this terrible depression, what would my own future look like? Not only did Jordan's suicide turn my world upside down, but it affected our entire community. When she died, the number of messages, phone calls, and social media posts that followed was almost overwhelming. They were a testament to the incredible impact Jordan had on people. Her death was a shock to so many. It became a wake-up call for our community to take mental illness more seriously. Something had to be done. And thankfully, something has been done. My parents, Tom and Ellen Harris, founded the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation back in 2014. Over these past 6 years, I've been lucky enough to witness the impact this foundation has had on the Dallas-Fort Worth community, and Tarrant County in particular. You heard from Christina earlier about the incredible strides we have made over the years, not to mention the number of people that have been touched by the important work the foundation is doing. As indicated by Christina's statistics, a primary goal of this foundation has been to normalize conversations among people, particularly young people, about mental health, to let them know it's okay to not be okay, and that it is so important to talk about it. I still miss Jordan every day, and I wish more than anything that I could pick up the phone and call her just to talk about our days. We are finally getting to a point in our lives where I wasn't the annoying little sister anymore. We were becoming peers, and even better, best friends. This is one of the hardest parts about losing her when I did. If there is such thing as a silver lining for me, Jordan's death has taught me so much about life and its challenges. It's taught me how to put things into perspective, how to not sweat the small stuff. It's taught me how to be resilient, how to push through the bad days, because I've already experienced some of the worst pains a person can feel. When I was laid off from my job back in March because of COVID, I knew I could break through my own feelings of sadness or depression and find the resources I needed to get past it. And throughout the years, all of us have thankfully turned the tragedy of losing Jordan into something bigger than ourselves through sharing her story and growing the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation's work in the community. I am so honored and proud to be a part of such an amazing organization. I would like to personally thank everyone who has played a part in supporting this foundation, no matter how big or small. I also wanted to thank many of the same people watching today who have been there for me and my family since the moment we lost Jordan. You are the people who continue to lift us up 8 years later. And to my parents, Tom and Ellen, the co-founders of the foundation. You inspire me. I'm honored to call you my role models, and the role models for many in this community. You both have somehow found a way to turn your personal tragedy into such a powerful force of good, literally saving countless lives. We are living in a time of immense uncertainty. The combination of a global pandemic, racial injustices, political divisiveness, and an economic crisis has had an incredibly negative impact on everyone's state of mind. According to a major recent study conducted at Boston University, for example, cases of depression among adults in the U.S. have tripled since the start of the COVID pandemic. All these factors just amplify more than ever the need for our foundation services. And finally, whether you are at home, at work, or at school, and you are feeling isolated in these extremely difficult times, please know that you are not alone in any of this. Thank you for taking the time to tune in today. We are grateful for any kind of support you can give the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation. It will make an impact far greater than you can ever know. Thank you, and stay safe.